good, whatever, whenever you are watching. And welcome to this episode of Chatting with Beloved Chatters, where we get to know people who we've gotten familiar with in the chat rooms of shows rather than on regular shows. And today I am joined by Annie, known as Annie the Review Girl from Who Are These Podcasts. How are you doing, Annie?
Hey, good to have, thanks for having me. Good to be here. Um, I go by Annie Orian on YouTube, which is just my first and middle name, and Insanity on basically everything else. So if you see either of those names, that's me. And yeah, I am the review girl on WATP, which I believe I will be on today, as long as Carl sends me the link.
And for those asking, is that coming on Thursday? This is a pre-recorded interview because Annie is a professional adult who has a job and has to be somewhere on Thursday, unlike a freeloader like me who's going to hang out on the internet until it's absolutely positively necessary to get more income. But boy, have I stretched this dollar this year. And
Well, it
you,
seems
you
like you're
work
doing
in
good. I really like everything you've been doing over here. But go ahead.
Thank you. It's just trying to get a regularity to it. I was doing 5 days a week, 4 days a week now, and you were joining me for Nerds Without Dates until I got a strike, and I've backed away from playing clips from pretty much anything because YouTube is being strike happy these days. But that was fun joining you after work. When you got off, you'd join in, talk nerd stuff with me, and you're in retail, aren't you?
Yeah, that's correct. I work for Walgreens. I can't say a lot about what I do specifically, apparently, but I work for Walgreens. I'm just a shift leader, shift manager, whatever. But I just that's what I do for 5 days a week.
I enjoy back of the house, being a cook, being a prep chef. When I did get into actually dealing with people with work and conventions, I'm actually good at it, but I have to be really pushed, kicking and screaming, into dealing with the customer. Unlike the man from Office Space, I am not good with the customer. Well, I guess I am. I just don't believe I am. And before you started doing your own show again, actually, I first heard of you as the moderator of the stars. I believe Carl Hamburger gave you that name. Is it because of Patrick Michael, or was there some other inspiration of why you were the moderator to the stars?
I don't know exactly why that name came about. I think it came from Cardiff initially. Um, I was for a brief stint the moderator for Patrick Michael, Patty C. Cups, whatever the fuck name. And it is apparently Paddy. That's his preferred name. That's his pronoun. Is Paddy.
I have seen you spelling it like that, but everyone, his name is Patrick, so Patty with two T's makes sense. He's just he makes it very hard to find himself, even when you're looking for Patty C cups. It's got to be Paddy, like
Yeah,
Patty's Pub.
he's kind of he's everything people talk about him. A lot of the things are true. Now, he is a lot more nuanced than a lot of people give him credit for, and he is more self-aware than people realize he is. However, he never puts himself in an opportunity for success. In fact, it always seems like he is getting in his own way 2 steps in advance. Seems like he's always sabotaging himself. He's had plenty of opportunity. In one of the recent episodes, I don't really listen to his podcast anymore, but I listen to it through WATP and like whenever people review it. But I I hear that he's talking about how he wants people to come to his Patreon, and then people complain that his Patreon doesn't really have anything on it. And that's true. His whole business model, according to him, is that he wants uh, people to donate to his Patreon to support all of the free stuff that he does, since he does so much crap all over the internet.
Okay,
And
so the
while
Patreon
that's a good
itself
idea, he
is not where
needs
it's
to
held.
make his Patreon the hub for that stuff. So if you pay for the Patreon, you need to be able to find all that free stuff that he's doing on that Patreon. He should have all of his 1 minute medals on there. He should have all of his free water. He should have, even if they're old podcast, I think they should be on there, because that would make the $3 minimum that he wants on there absolutely worth it. If he had his, I don't know, 25, 30 podcast catalog in one place, it would be an unbeatable deal.
And that is something that even people who Patty Watch, Patrick Michael Watch, I believe it is, on the Who Are These Podcast Discord. It is quite a task trying to keep track of him because, yeah, starting up a new channel, a new podcast, going to Anchor FM. I wonder if he's found a new obscure one because Anchor FM is no more.
I
So,
think he's still using Anchor got acquired by Spotify, and now it's like Spotify podcast or whatever they call it. Now they have like a free version of it, and if I'm not mistaken, he's in that system now. So he's still using Anchor, but it's under the Spotify network. So all of his podcasts still go out to where they used to, and I still think he doesn't pay anything for it, which is good for
and
him. I mean, paying for hosting is a ball busting. I mean, I only pay like $7 to $15 on Libsyn, depending on the month, depending on whether I do a longer episode or I need to upload extra stuff. Whenever I pay for my next month of Libsyn, I'm going to have to get the bigger subscription because I have 2 podcast episodes to edit. And then once we do this upcoming episode with El Horrible, we're going to need, I have 3 episodes that I'm sitting on because my main computer is currently in the shop. So I only have this backup computer, which I don't want to push it further than I have already. So.
And one of the things that I would imagine, keeping on Patrick Michael, how he, like people really critiquing you is something that's very intimidating for a lot of people. Like with you putting yourself out there on Who Are These Podcasts and your own show, you got to get used to some people coming along saying, "Hey, fuck you! What are you doing?" And Patrick Michael is like getting that shrapnel of what the fuck is wrong with you? People very viciously critiquing him without the fame, without the success to go along with it. And as you said, using Libsyn, that one I was familiar with back a while ago, and they're very good at getting your podcast out there.
Yeah, I think they put it on everything except for SoundCloud for me because I have to have a upgraded membership with SoundCloud. Otherwise, I can only have a certain amount of storage on there. I think I have the first, maybe only the first episode of What Is This Game on there, and then the storage immediately maxed out. So I was like, I'm not paying for that. I pay for
Another thing
Libsyn
to
to
pay
ship it to
for,
everything
yeah.
else. Yeah, I'm not adding another payment on top of there, especially for SoundCloud. SoundCloud is for music and stuff like that. It's not strictly for podcasts. Finding a podcast on there is not what you're going there for.
And I do have to thank being part of your show for introducing me. I do like having that 2 weeks at a time at a new game that I haven't played before. Dead Space and Valheim, both just Valheim has yet to be released, but an absolute classic. Dead Space is, and Chris Holm has gotten you addicted to XCOM. You said you have kept on playing Enemy Unknown. I believe you got the DLC Enemy Within well past and getting into another campaign. I started XCOM 2. Like it's the base building is not as in depth, but God, do I love the upgrades to the combat they have in that one.
You're absolutely right. I am now pretty into the XCOM. I've been playing it in my own free time, like when I just have some downtime to play a game and I'm not doing something else. I've just been playing XCOM. The Enemy Within DLC is everything exactly what I wanted to. When we were talking in our podcast, I was basically saying if I were to include mods, I would just want like more units, more advanced units. I would want more gear, just some customization for the units, just basic, just simple stuff, nothing game changing. And then I get the Enemy Within DLC, which I got on sale for like $8. So it was impossible for me to pass up. So I get it, and suddenly there's like mechanized units. You can edit the DNA of your soldiers. There's tons of new grenades. There's new armor types and new enemies, which is the biggest thing that I wanted. I wanted new enemy types, and I'm just like, oh well, all right, well, ask and I shall receive. So it was absolutely a fantastic franchise to get into.
When XCOM 2 is on sale, it's on sale pretty regularly over on Switch. Definitely buy it. I think it might be for free. I think I saw it for $2 on the PlayStation member store. So definitely wait when it's on sale for your preferred system, and well worth your time. It was actually Red Letter Media that brought XCOM to my attention. Rich Evans was a huge fan, and they had a gaming channel for a little while, and they wanted to make it a variety of streams. And he would be like, "Well, if it was up to me, I'd just choose XCOM over and over and over again." Are you into Red Letter Media at all? I'm a big fan of their reviews.
I I only know about them through other people. I've never listened to them before. I hear they're pretty good, but it's the problem I have with getting into new people is I always have the trouble of finding a good entry point. Especially with like podcasts. Do I listen to the most recent? Because if it's not a show where there's like a format and like bits and segments and stuff like that, if it's just like people hanging out and talking about their life and their week, if it's 600 episodes, deep, do I need to go back to episode 1, or do I start here and like squish into the middle? Do I start with episode 100? So I always struggle getting an entry point, and a perfect example is Patrick Melton. Patrick Melton to me seems very interesting. I like what he does, and I like his brand of trolling. I like how loud he is, and I like that he, for the most, from what I've seen, seems to know what he's talking about generally. Sometimes he talks out of his ass, but so do I. So does everybody a little bit.
He's filling 4 hours a day, what, 4 or 5 days a week. So yeah, there's going to be some ass talking coming out of there, but he does a very good job. Same with you. It's kind of overwhelming getting into someone with that much content creating, but having people like El Horrible, the upcoming guest on What Is This Game, having him playing clips, it helps with the entry point of getting a little bit familiar with that universe. Linger longer, Opie and Anthony used to say. Like, if you just jump in, you'll be entertained by some stuff, but linger longer, and it will just be so much more that you're fascinated by. And actually, the Dick Show is how you stumbled upon this universe with Carl and Who Are These Podcasts and everything, correct?
No, actually,
No.
I
Oh, he-
found I found the Dick Show and Carl both the same way. Um, am a fan of this YouTuber. His YouTube account is called Penguin Z0. He's a huge commentary YouTuber on the platform, and he also does like a huge variety of other stuff. Um, Him and his friends do this podcast called The Official Podcast. It's Charlie, the main host, Kaya Orson, who is a rotating guest on Who Are These Podcasts occasionally.
Yes, I do recall them doing the official podcast,
Mhm.
and Kaya having a sense of humor about it and becoming. It's been a while. I'm looking forward to him dropping in again. I enjoyed his episodes.
And then it's Andrew, another YouTuber, and Jackson, another YouTuber, old YouTuber and more of a streamer now. So all four of them do the official podcast, and I was paying for their Patreon because at the time it was the only podcast I was really into. All the podcasts I started getting into were basically just YouTubers that I liked, that I wanted more content from. So there was the official podcast from Charlie, very, really good, from this comedian Curtis Connor, and then Tiny Meat Gang, or TMG, from the commentary YouTuber Cody Ko, and the comedian rapper Noel Miller. So basically, all my initial podcasts were just YouTubers that I liked, but the official podcast is the one that kind of kept me the most because I liked everybody on the show a lot, especially Kaya. So they had a bonus episode. I can't remember what bonus episode. And they had Carl on there because Kaya was a fan of Who Are These Podcasts. It was like, hey, I think this guy would be a good guest. But they didn't put him on a public episode, and they put him on a bonus episode. And Carl was like, that's kind of lame, like now people that are fans of me are going to have to pay you to go see the bonus episode that I was on. It doesn't necessarily promote me to be on your show, especially behind a paywall. Anyway, they did the exact same thing to Dick Masterson. Dick Masterson went on there on behind a paywall bonus episode, and then he went and talked about his lawsuit with Maddox because it was big and popular at the time, and I think it had just finished, and he was just getting resolution to it while his friend Asterios Kokonos was still being sued. So
The original
that's how I got
lawsuit.
into all of this, is through the official podcast.
Maddox, I actually didn't realize had a presence on the internet there for a while until he like self imploded and really just turned into someone to laugh at rather than someone to laugh with.
Maddox is one of the he's one of the original like satire blog troll internet kind of figures. He started and he got popular in the 90s, back before you even had like search algorithms to really find him. His arc has been really interesting. It's actually been surprisingly similar to Stuttering John's. He had I wouldn't call what Maddox had a career really, because he was an internet guy who, would make satire articles, and he wrote a couple of satire books. So
Yeah,
I
but
guess,
back in the day, gamers couldn't be an actual career. It's
right.
just something you did for fun. In the early days of the internet, this goofing off online couldn't make you money. It was just something you did for fun, which is where Maddox has the majority of his career. Career, as you said, kind of hobbyish kind of career.
Absolutely. And even though it's his niche, he was very popular and successful in both of those fields.
I do love
So
that we need the quotes.
yeah, because it is nothing. I mean,
Popular-ish.
anyone outside of this, I would have to explain a lot more than what I'm explaining to explain who Maddox is. But him and Dick Masterson, who was another satire artist and a kind of troll comedian who went on to the Dr. Phil show and was going as like the chauvinist, overly manly character. And they started a podcast together called The Biggest Problem in the Universe. That show ran pretty successfully up until episode 77, in which case Dick went to a wedding and ended up hooking up with one of Maddox's exes. They had been apart for like 3 years, but Dick and this girl hooked up.
Just like that, who got all upset about someone else dating someone that they dated in high school. Like, man, there's a time limit on this. Like 6 months to a year. I can understand you getting upset at someone who you still have lingering feelings for. Just holding an ownership over. I can't have. Like, there's a reason you were attracted to them, and I'm attracted to them too. It's an expiration on just no dating anyone I have ever dated.
Yeah, there's got to be a time limit on it. And according to Dick, as long as he's not stretching the truth, I only have to go off of what I know. It had been 3 years since they had been apart. So, a little bit long to be still clinging and being like, but I still love her. It's saying, okay, well, get the fuck over it. It's not it's over. So after that, this podcast went on a strict decline and went up until episode 107. And then Dick Masterson was basically kicked off the podcast, and they wrapped up the show with just a couple of clip shows. So that podcast self-destructed. At the same time, Dick launched his own show, The Dick Show, and
wonderful name, fantastic name.
Fantastic.
That's one thing that bugs me about branding with certain people. Of like, what the hell's a Shuli? Why is it the Shuli Network? But the Dick Show, yes, wonderful branding where someone just flipping around. The Dick Show, what the hell?
It says a lot, but it says so little right at the beginning that you're already intrigued. And the cover art is pretty good because it's just a picture of his face, and there's like, he's wearing the Heart of the Ocean from Titanic because it was a recurring bit on The Biggest Problem, and he's got like a crown of thorns, so he's got like a lot going on, and just the cover art. The show turned out pretty well. It was just Dick and his audio engineer from The Biggest Problem, Sean Jacobson, and they have been the Dick Show ever since. And I think they're on like episode 380 or something now. They also do a crossover show with Carl from WATP, which is a promotion to Carl. So if any of you listening are not paying for the Patreon, you should go pay for the WATP Patreon, because the crossover episodes are fantastic. They covered Maddox's book, Fuck Whales, and that book is a disaster.
What I love, you did say that Maddox and Stuttering John very similar to each other, whereas the bonus content of getting clips from John's book, Easy for You to Say, is just endless fun. It never stopped being fun. Fuck Whales turned into an absolute chore for
Yeah.
Dick and Carl to get through after a couple of episodes, because he front loaded it with all of his big out there thoughts, and then he just ran out of steam immediately.
And as they pointed out, he clearly writes it in sequential order. So by the halfway point of the book, he said everything he needed to say, but he still has to fill up the rest of this to get his book deal with Simon and Schuster. So he's got to get some word limit in here.
And I do enjoy like helping people with revisions and script doctoring, as I've called it. That's something I would love to get a handle of, and be like, all right, you see how you've got all your ideas densely packed here? Let's separate them out and throw a little bullshit here. We can help that out a little bit. And oh, good old Maddox and his stuttering John keeping us laughing even when they stop being entertaining. They are just fools.
While they both were more entertaining in their spiral afterwards than during their success, in my opinion. Stuttering John, from all the content I've seen of when he was on the Tonight Show and when he was on Howard Stern and when he was doing all the shit, he wasn't very funny. I mean, he was clearly playing into his stuttering character because that was his only thing. Um, John now, even though I hate the guy, is way more hilarious than he used to be because he's completely unself-aware and he's just a fucking stumbling drunk. And then Maddox, after he blew up, he went on Twitch. I assume you know who Cardiff Electric is. You know that filter,
Absolutely.
how he's like a face and it's just like a potato, and when he moves, the like body jiggles and follows him.
And
Maddox did the same thing. He played a character called Banana Docs, where he was just his face on a banana, and he would go "Bleh," all over the screen, kind of like Annoying Orange style. He also had another character where he was a overly manly Western saloon cowboy guy in the modern age, but thought he was still in the old age. And then another character who was like a gay vampire, and then one last character who was a e-girl version of himself. So
you've gone much farther down the Maddox hole than I have ever gone.
yeah, Maddox is a huge mess, and I like listening to Dick make fun of him because Dick Masterson pretty much hates the guy. So
Yeah,
it's
and
hilarious to listen to
yeah,
him make fun
having
of
the
him.
like having that partnership. I had a comedy partnership that yeah went sour after a while, and yeah, don't I, I don't want to see the guy because I don't want to hate the guy. Like good luck in your endeavors. If I don't talk to you, if I don't see you, I can keep up that type of outlook. That good luck in your future endeavors, rather than you fucking dick. How could you ruin the partnership? Because I was the writer and he was the director. Basically, we
Oh,
did
okay.
a stage play at our community college, and then he just got like so full of himself, like being trying to throw ideas back and forth. I know what's funny. If he didn't come up with it, then it wasn't funny, and it just became impossible. Are you a fan of Kids in the Hall, the sketch group?
No, I don't. I know the whitest kids you know, but no.
The Kids in the Hall were in the 90s. Canadian Lauren Michaels was a producer for them. Got very weird with their sketches. I think there were 5 of them. And one of the guys was Bruce McCullough. When I hear the guys talk about Bruce McCullough and how they did their powwows of, yeah, we would, get together, we would meeting, and everyone had one vote on what would work, except for Bruce. He had 4 votes on what would work. It's like, yeah, I knew a guy like that. Do you guys just absolutely distaste him now? Because it's yeah, I enjoy collaborating, which is one of the reasons why I launched co-host auditions. Is I enjoy helping someone bring their show along, and stumbling upon you on Harrison Young. Thank goodness that De La and Dabble Storian overbooked that episode, because De La's internet was not agreeing with him. But yeah, it was so funny of me saying, "Yeah, I'm a co-host looking for a host," and you saying, "My show's on hiatus. I need a co-host." It actually took me a couple of hours to realize, hey, we're kind of looking for the same thing here. And of course, the idea was to get in with someone making money already, so they can give me some of that sweet money. But yeah, just to collaborate with someone and help their projects along. I enjoy doing that, especially exposing me to what I've missed in the gaming industry. I hit the big ones, but there's just so many things that I've missed that you're introducing me to. Um,
You've
how
been a
big is a
welcome addition to the show, and fit right in. You mentioned you have a pretty uh not a huge gaming hobby, but you're really into games and you're on and off on certain games. Some games you just focus on and you play for years on end because you're so into the one game, which is great. I was kind of that way for League of Legends for a couple of years. I was with that with Halo 2, basically my whole childhood. All I did was just play Halo 2 until I got like Halo Reach and I was able to play online games. All I did was basically play Halo 2. So uh I have missed out on certain games too that are like you would argue are pretty monumental. A big one is Mass Effect. I've never played Mass Effect. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. I know the story pretty much. I know that the games are really good, but the story ends in kind of a shitty way because we were talking in our Quarry episode that everything in the game kind of culminates. You have all these paths or whatever, but the game
yeah,
only
choose
ends
your own
kill the guy or
adventure.
don't kill the guy.
But yeah, the very end of choosing your own adventure, and they don't really give you a reason not to kill them. The final, here's your big decision. Well, why wouldn't I? This solves everything. Why wouldn't I?
Unless
I
I
don't
just
want to.
want the bad ending achievement, yeah, there's fuck it. I'm gonna get the good ending. From what I've heard, Mass Effect 3 ends pretty similarly. You get all of these branches, and no matter who makes it to the end, you only kind of get like one of two choices, and the game kind of just ends like, oh, that's it. So apparently later on they released a DLC and it kind of like fixes the ending a little bit, but that's kind of a shitty way to end a franchise. However, 1, 2, and 3 up until the end are apparently such good games that it would be a disservice to me as a fan of gaming to not eventually go play Mass Effect. So this is a great outlet for me. My show is to be like, okay, so for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to play this game, and I can get as much time in as I need, and it's really been a lovely time actually.
One game I know so much of the lore about, Kojima and the Metal Gear series. I know so much about that series, but I don't think I've played a single one of those games. And once again, the very disappointing ending where what was it? The studio was Konami, I believe, that decided the future is pachinko and mobile games only. That were like, you're done. Where you're at here, you're done. And the final Metal Gear was. Everyone says it feels like the ending is missing, is not there because Konami just dropped the hammer and said it's not pachinko, it's not mobile gaming. Get the fuck out of here, Kojima.
Yeah, and that's kind of upsetting because 5 was a pretty decent game, like gameplay wise, and seems like it's pretty fun. Um, it is just not the end to the series. The series will just permanently just be hanging on the edge of a cliff, waiting to be finished. Maybe in a dozen years or whatever, somebody will come up with enough money and be like, "Hey, can we buy that IP off of you?" And they'll be like, "I don't know, 20 billion." And Microsoft will be like, "Yep, got it."
I'm seeing so many examples of the studio interference. The big overarching company just dabbling too much and ruining it. Like you mentioned with Dead Space in the Dead Space review, where it was a surprise hit. Number two, just do it again but bigger, and then number three, make it Call of Duty and do Call of Duty numbers. You didn't do Call of Duty numbers. And my roommate does not like the third one at all because it does not feel like a proper Dead Space to him, more like the Call of Duty, like the Gotham Knights, the WB Studios Gotham Knights. It's for free play right now for Xbox members and PS5 members. Such a stinky reputation. I'm like, I don't know. I think I'll just play XCOM 2 again rather than play that Gotham Knights, where they took away all the fun capabilities, and the Suicide Squad, the Rocksteady founders left before that trailer dropped because they saw the writing on the walls. They wanted to do a dark Superman game. They were forced to no, we need a Fortnite. Make the Suicide Squad into a Fortnite. So here it hasn't even been released, and just seeing that it's clearly not a narrative driven story. Have you gotten into the Arkham games? Those are fantastic.
No, I know I do recall that whenever we had first got in touch, that you had mentioned that that is something that you might want to play. And
That got
I
back.
need a reason to
Yeah.
play that series too because I missed out on the Arkham games. I played maybe 5 or 10 minutes of Arkham Asylum when my stepdad went to go like to the bathroom or go do something. I would just play a couple minutes. I think I fought some bad guys in a courtyard and that was about it. So that's the only experience I've had with the game, but I own all of them. I own all, I think all
Well,
4
you
of
don't
them.
even need to wait for the Switch port coming out. That's
Mhm.
coming out soon. The complete trilogy. I didn't think they could fit that third one on a Switch, but they somehow cut the data corners down to get it onto a Switch. Arkham City to me is one of one of the best games, like near perfect. It's just so fun. The bonus content of doing enemy rushes when you're not in the story gameplay is just a whole lot of fun. The third one I didn't complete. It doesn't feel as fun, but a phenomenal story. The story gets an A+, where the gameplay more gets like a B from me on the Arkham Knight. Yeah, definitely recommend those, especially since the first two are like different types. Arkham City, open world, and people have compared Arkham Asylum kind of like to Metroid, where you're in more of a confined space, working your way through this labyrinth to solve the mystery.
That I think that's a pretty good a pretty good comparison. Uh, it's just like a beat 'em up, but with the like styling of a Metroid Prime game, where you're just kind of going back and repeating areas, getting gadgets to get into new areas, upgrading your gear to get into further areas, and there's tons of collectibles. I like the idea of the Riddler trophies.
Oh, I love collectibles. That was something I was a big Nintendo 64 fan, the collectathons. I was a fan of collectathons. Banjo Kazooie did it fantastically. Donkey Kong 64, that too much, too fucking far on that. I think Donkey Kong 64 killed the collectathon with how they went about it. Were you a PlayStation or a Nintendo 64? Like for me growing up, it was always a this or that. I had the Sega Genesis. My cousins had the Super Nintendo. Then I had the 64, and my brother moved out on the own. He had his PlayStation, so it was like one or the other for the longest time.
Well, I started gaming because my dad was like gaming adjacent. He liked Mario specifically. So he had a Super Nintendo and a Nintendo Entertainment System to play Mario Brothers 3, which is his favorite, and Super Mario World, which my mom liked. So both of them would occasionally, very rarely play games, but that's how I got into it. Is because there was just a console there, and I was like, I'll fucking do something. It's better than going and playing outside.
Mario
We
3
didn't get an
and
Xbox until Halo 1 came out, and I obsessed on it because I had a friend living near me, and he had me come over, and he was like, "Oh, we gotta play this game." So him and I played it pretty much nonstop, and that's how I even learned how to play, like the concept of twin stick, like moving both sticks at the same time, one to move and one to turn. Because as a Nintendo player, you only had the one stick, or even no stick. You only had a D-pad. So there was no sticks. So from going to no sticks to two sticks, I was like, how do I move?
I bet I could still jump right back into it. It's funny how people talk about the GoldenEye 64 singular stick being unwieldy wieldy
Mhm,
now, but
mhm.
yeah, it took me. I was so used to looking around and moving with that one. Yeah, it took some getting used to the one stick is move, one stick is look around. and it absolutely makes sense. But it absolutely worked for me, and it's more intuitive than what modern people say. At least to me, having the singular stick is just your everything, your look around, and your move.
Interestingly, we brought it up, but Metroid is very similar in that, or at least Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime is the first-person variant of the Metroid series. It's in the same canon. Some of them are the canon is very messed up, like which game takes place where. But all of the games, whether they're 2D or 3D, are in the same timeline, which is cool. Um, Metroid Prime One has the same mechanic. You only have on the GameCube controller, you have the left joystick, which is your control stick, and then you have the C stick on the right hand side, which is typically for adjusting the camera, or for Metroid, it's switching your visors or your beams, depending on if you have to switch like the swap option. So you use the C stick to switch like your vision module. That's about it. To actually turn your camera, you had to hold, I think, the left trigger, and then you could move your camera up, down, left, and right. Otherwise, you were just moving kind of on a 2D plane, which I thought was a very interesting mechanic. It wasn't until it was remastered and re-released years and years later on the Switch, not the Switch, the Wii. It came out in the Metroid Prime Trilogy collection, where you could have the motion controls. So you had the nunchuck in the left hand, and for the first time, you could do both. You could run around and shoot, and it made that like because some of the fights weren't necessarily designed for you to move and shoot like that. You could just walk past enemies. You're like blam, 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 blam as you're running, and just turn your gun to the side. It's pretty advanced. It made you feel, to quote the Arkham series, it made you feel like Metroid.
Going from advanced to more simplistic, were you able to play PT, the playable trailer, before it got taken down?
No, unfortunately. I'm sure if I did enough digging, I could find it because I know it's somewhere. Somebody has a copy of just the raw files, and you can get them on there and get them to work.
That
But
started going
I
for a
missed out
lot of
on that.
money on eBay of uh, uh, PlayStations that had that file still on them. Just another example of Konami just torching the earth with Kojima. Like this thing, people no, don't even play this anymore. Just such a fantastic horror experience. I had feelings of dread, like I do in a very decent horror movie, while playing through that game, and you're just walking. There's very little that you can do other than walk, and the interactions that you have with your surroundings are just very little. And one thing I think that makes a good gaming show is actually enjoying the gaming. And that's why I enjoy another lolcow, Darkside Phil, so much, because he does not enjoy the gaming. I recently stumbled across him just getting so frustrated and pissed off at PT. And yeah, having a friend that had it and being able to, there's at some point where the radio it's playing this broadcast and it says, "Don't turn around." Oh, the fear that goes through. Ooh, I want to do it. I don't want to do it. I've got to do it. I've got to do it. It said don't, so I know I have to. I don't want to do it. And seeing Darkside Phil just get so angry. What is this? I swear, if it's the same room again, I'm done. I'm deleting the game. And he
Yeah,
did.
people who just get that mad are just really entertaining. They just blow up off over nothing. They get so annoyed. Wings of Redemption, I'm more familiar with, and he's similar. He's such a
Todd,
wreck.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he's been just hating his life, but realizing that going back to this game he absolutely hates is what brings in the money. So he he is just to get the money, I must be miserable.
Speaking of doing it for the money and being miserable, I believe Wings of Redemption is on a podcast specifically for lolcows. With Boogie. I don't I want to say it's Phil, but I don't think it's
It was
Darkside
supposed to
Phil.
be Phil.
And
I was
somebody else.
following
This
that
guy named Matt. I don't know who he is.
Yeah, I was following that drama as Keemstar was trying to bring that together and getting into business with someone like Keemstar, who doesn't need to work at all. That it is a great idea with someone with that track record. And Phil actually tried to go behind his back because he's just mad at everyone. Anyone who ever talks about Darkside Phil, eventually he gets pissed off at him. The last interview that Phil did, he was completely fine with the Side Scrollers podcast, is who it was. He was completely fine for like 2 days, and then just got completely pissed off at him. But Phil tried to go around Keemstar's back, steal his idea. We can do this, Wings. We can do it, Buggy. We don't need that businessman to help us out in this business venture. We can do it ourselves. And there's I've said, like, for the Dabbleverse, which you and I are kind of in adjacent to, of course, being the WATP review girl, you're very familiar. If someone were to start chronicling the sagas, like there are YouTubers that chronicle the Chris Chan sagas, so you can get little chapters. There's so many chronicled of Dark Side Phils where you can get little chapters like the what I'll help a dabbler. I don't want to do it myself, but I will assist in helping get this to a wider audience in little bite-sized pieces. Like the namesake of this show, Chatting with Beloved Chatters. The Beloved Chatters Loved One saga is just so hilarious to me. Something that is clearly a scam to get money out of people that he kept going. Stuttering
We're
John
talking about
kept
John,
going
of
with
course, right?
for weeks. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Stuttering John's. There is a beloved one of a beloved chatter who is taking donations, and just super chat me, and then I will give it to someone who will give it to them. Like, it wasn't even a second party. There's a unnecessary third party involved, which someone pointed out. Okay, John, if this is indeed legit, this is illegal the way you're doing it.
Yeah. Like, you're making it illegal. Like, there are so many avenues for him to do things right, and you can always trust John to lie and make the wrong decision, which is
It
why he's
is
fascinating.
it is such a track record of wrong decision making. The every single decision he makes is the wrong one. It is astonishing that he doesn't stumble upon a right decision in years and years.
I'm going to talk directly to the audience for this one, especially you, Brochi. John's not a character. This is not a joke he does. John is genuinely that fucking stupid, and he's genuinely that bad of a person. He's not doing it on purpose, except for when he is. John will never change. Fuck you, John Melendez.
Oh, fuck me.
Oh, what, did I get personal? I'm sorry.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Fuck me. That movie, One Too Many, and the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, I both have copious notes on how, yeah, everything done was wrong. I had to go out and get the DVD copy of One Too Many because I read a review that said the DVD commentary is more informative than it has any right to be. I mean, I'm like, ooh, I need to know because working in the film industry, having a passion for that, seeing things done right as a fly on the wall, as a stand-in, as a background actor, and being able to apply that myself. Every decision was wrong. The Angry Video Game Nerds movie is another one that that killed his passion. James Rolfe's creative spirit was killed because he thought he knew what he was doing. He got into business with his friend from college. I'm a reality television producer. I can help you make this movie. No, you had a bunch of people who had no idea what they were doing, who thought they could get this done, and it is a hard watch. Like I've got friends that I love watching bad movies with. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this with you. I don't think I can expose you to the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. This one hurts a lot.
I'm not familiar, and it's kind of unfortunate because seems like something it would be exactly up my alley. It's somebody who was into video games and is a YouTuber making video game adjacent content, and then went to make a movie in earnest, and then it ended up being a colossal failure, Tommy Wiseau style. Sounds like exactly what I would like.
Getting the full backstory on the different steps of the movie. And thank you, James Rolfe, for still having that on your Cinemassacre website. So I can see that you wasted so much time and money with doing a bunch of scenes, filming a bunch of scenes with James alone, the nerd alone. Actually, that's another thing that they both have in common. The nerd movie and One Too Many is nearly every single scene having the star in it, and it's side characters that aren't characters, that are there just to service the ego of the star. And like, he's supposed to be a movie fan first. Like, how could you do that to movies if you love movies, James? I I think I'm trying to rope you in to watch this with me,
Hey,
as I want
get
to do.
if you want to do this for the reboot of Nerds Without Dates, absolutely. It's perfectly adjacent to, what we do.
Actually, I would like this to be. I've got it in my notes under hindsight rewrite. I am your hindsight producer. Here's what you did, and
Ooh,
at the
that's
end,
good. I like the name.
yeah, at the end, after we just eviscerate the movie, Red Letter Media, you said you weren't a fan of, but their Plinkett reviews, they absolutely go into granular detail. And like their Star Wars Episode 1 review, they don't even get into the Jar Jar Binks. They just mention them in passing because there's so much more to get through. And that was the big punching bag. Uh, yeah, I have so many notes that I would like to do their style of inspired by their style of Plinkett review. And then at the end, all right, I want to be a script doctor. Here's what I would have done as your producer, as your hindsight producer. Here's what could have happened. And yeah, page one rewrite for the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. It's taking trying to keep as much as I can while changing it. My biggest change for One Too Many, John's not the star. If
Well, he's not the star, even though he is the main character.
if he could have overcome his ego to be the buddy and not the leading man, to realize that he could have been a producer and co-star as the buddy character, and to me, there is no one better to be in a movie about a three-way than Dietrich Bader, who was Oswald in the Drew Carey show, so he had more of a name just coming out of that show. The budget for John's movie was $500,000. That has been documented. Getting someone that has a name like Dietrich Bader, I'm certain he could have got $1.5 million to actually make it look like a real movie. And are you familiar with Office Space?
No, I'm not familiar with a lot of this stuff. Um,
Okay, Office Space, Dietrich Bader, his character, when asked, if you had $1 million, what would you do? Two chicks at the same time. And that's a big joke of the movie, is the two chicks at the same time, where it's like, oh, that's another nod we could make to the audience that this character that Dietrich played, it's like his cousin. There's like weird legal issues where you probably couldn't outright say it, but making a wink, this guy, this guy whose goal is to have a threesome, is related to the other guy he played, whose goal in life was to have a threesome.
I know there's somewhere out there where I can catch One Too Many, and if I'm not mistaken, Carl and somebody did a commentary track, like a watch along kind of talk over, for One Too
I
Many.
think that was Hack the Movies. There's no audio though.
No, yeah, so you have to watch the movie and then also play it, like in another tab or whatever. You have to play the watch along audio. I
yeah,
did the
no
same
riff
thing
tracks
whenever I
present.
watched through the Halo TV show. It was actually the only way I could sit through it. From the official podcast, Kaya and the other host, Jackson, both of them did a watch along where, they'd be like, all right, everybody get ready, get your shit together. 3, 2, 1, play. And then we all watch the recap for each episode, talk over it. And then once the episode starts, I would do my best to pay attention, and then I would just end up listening to Kaya and Jackson talk over it because I was like, man, this is so fucking bad. Because there's honestly no way I could sit through and watch Stuttering John try to actually act and be like likable and be like a person, because like I said, I fucking hate the guy.
He's not likable in the movie either. He's incapable of playing someone who's likable, and knowing his backstory, you can see how he just took facets of his life. There's no reason that Tony and Tina's wedding needed to be part of the movie, but he's not a creative enough guy to come up with something original. So there is just a one for one of Tony and Tina's wedding, and that's how he met his wife in real life, and that's how he met his love interest in the movie, because he can't how he couldn't think of anything else other than, "Oh, well, this happened to me, so that's how it's going to happen in the script."
John's proof that if you get lucky, almost anything good can happen.
You can luck yourself into success, and if you are foolish enough, you can squander it all.
Luck is generally when or when opportunity and preparation meet. Um, not with John. I don't know. He just somehow stumbles. There's just some people that just constantly stumble upwards and then they plateau and then they think they're still going up.
When in Los Angeles, I said that there's an equation for making it in entertainment, and it's an XYZ equation of talent, perseverance, and luck. If any of those are at zero, you're absolutely fucked. You need to have at least a little bit, and one of the other ones can be absolutely overwhelming. For John, I don't believe he has a whole number on talent. It's a fraction, but it's not zero of talent. It's a fraction in the talent, but the luck was just so phenomenally huge that and the mansion in Calabasas was really his downfall. That was something that
I'd like to see
absolutely
pictures of it.
Calabasas is the most absurdly rich community in the Los Angeles area. It blew my mind when I found out he lived there. His daily commute was fucking a mess to get to Burbank. Andy Richter lived in Burbank when the Conan O'Brien show moved there. I'm pretty sure Conan lived adjacent, but very much could have had a house paid off in like there's a few communities that I'm thinking of that would have been just fine, where he had literally just two turns to get into work. Honestly, that's a big thing for me in looking for a job now. My last job, it was miserable, but it paid well enough, and literally 2 miles from parking spot to parking spot. So paying well enough, and 2 miles from parking spot to parking spot kept me there an extra like 6 months.
Whenever my lease is up at this place that I live in right now, I'm gonna look for a new place. But the big determining factor is going to be how close is it to work? Because right now I live like worst case scenario, 4 minutes from work. Like worst case, like if I, like my car doesn't really work. If I have to walk, I can get to work in 7 minutes. So
Yeah, that's something that is just so big to me, and the convenience. And actually, that was our buddy Darkside Phil when he bought his original condo. It was slightly closer to work than what his parents' house was, and that's why he bought it.
slightly closer. I mean, hey, I just want landlords that give me a phone number. For anyone that rents, I'm sure you've dealt with frustrating situations, but I can't even contact my landlords. I have to contact like a management company that is run by like a group of homunculuses that takes 24 to 48 hours to respond to an emergency. So
That
I need to
is
get
a
out of
pain.
here.
And there's another thing that is going to keep me here longer than I probably want. Like I thought I was going to have a little pit stop and then get back in the film industry, and the film industry is a mess. I know Carl likes to shit on the strike and everything that's going on, but
But it was a big deal.
the language in there of like the middle class of background actors, even animal actors. There's a lot of middle class jobs that are just going to be wiped out because of the current language that makes it, oh, trust us, producers, trust us, people who are saving money and pinching every penny. We won't overuse AI. Don't worry. So that's something of uh, that I was on the platform of let Los Angeles die. We need to show these people in the gilded castles on the hill that we're serious. Like SAG should have started being like move to Atlanta adjacent, move to Chicago adjacent, move somewhere adjacent to a film industry, get a regular ass job because they have an interim contract going on right now, and yeah, they are going to turn Los Angeles into a Detroit. My buddy said Los Angeles already had its Detroit period in the 80s, but they're going to wipe out the middle class with as many jobs that are going to be just kaput because we've got these computers and this AI here now. And yeah, another thing of like, why am I getting back in this industry again? If the people that are up on the hill are actively trying to cut out all these different jobs, and go computer, make it work.
Yeah, it seems like a cool industry, but it doesn't seem like a cool industry to be in currently.
I want to get into it again, but yeah, the volatile nature of it, being able to get one of the smaller entry level jobs is becoming possibly a thing of the past. Just anyone off the street can be a background actor and eat a bag of chips on an episode of Superstore, which someone told me they saw me. I still haven't seen that one. But that was actually kind of fun for my friends back home who would just turn on the television and send me a clip of like, so this macho man, Randy Savage, in the crowd of Let's Make a Deal, that looks exactly like you. Yeah, that was me. They paid me minimum wage to go watch Wayne Brady. And what's really that you wouldn't believe, a lot of those sitcoms, those that isn't canned laughter. That is actually a live studio audience there they are that are watching a bunch of those sitcoms. The problem is that they've just loaded the shows so full of commercials now. Early 90s, the runtime was about 24 minutes for a sitcom, currently about like 20, 21 minutes for a
Yeah,
sitcom. Those
more and
extra
more
minutes,
ads. Yeah.
and they've got to just tighten it up in every little place possible. And Married with Children is a great example of this, of the audience almost being a character in themselves, of really having personality. And after so many seasons, like any of the main characters just had to enter the room and wait like 20, 30 seconds while the audience, Bud, woo, Bud. Even I Love Lucy, all the way back in the day, you can hear like that one guy in the audience as Lucy's about to make some type of catastrophe. One audience member, oh no. It just adds so much that making art has always been part creative, part business, and the industry as a whole is just going too far business, not enough art anymore. So that's someone who considers himself a weird artist, very demoralizing.
Well, for your sake, I really hope that you find a entry point back into the field that is, well, I hate to use the phrase, but not too toxic because it seems like it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, luckily, I wasn't exposed to much of that toxicity. Being a stand-in for a show that just had such an incredible atmosphere, and being able to keep that going was fantastic. And keeping away from those with a very bad reputation, and like crew members who was it, David Caruso. There was a sound guy who told me about David Caruso on set just being a complete diva, and there was a child actor that was on there that day, and just an innocent child seeing David Caruso just having such a really difficult time and blowing up about everything, and the child actor very innocently, David, it's easy. You just go up to your mark and you say your line. And the sound guy said that there was just fire and anger behind David Caruso's eyes as he thanked the little kid for his advice on how to do his job.
I mean, he's not wrong. That's why you can't punch him in the face.
And they're it's funny how they're trying to be like, oh no, we are very inclusive to everyone. We want everyone to be a part of it. When they were such the worst offenders for such a long time. Coogan's Kids is a program for child actors to not be taken advantage of, and it's named after Jackie Coogan for a reason, because he was absolutely fucking traumatized as a child. But he went on to play Uncle Fester, so he did he did come out all right and not a complete freak of nature. He only played a freak of nature as Fester.
See, that's how you get it out. You just
Yeah, you
pretend to
just
be a freak.
before people yelled at the internet for an hour, they could pretend to be a freak. But now we're going more to yelling on the internet at the hour, as is how I get out my frustrations lately.
Well, that's fair enough. I don't really yell on the internet, but I just subtly jab at people in chats.
And that is where I will be in about an hour. This is a recorded episode. The WATP chat, very fun to be in there, and like that kind of actually was a warm up to reawakening my creative spirit. It's kind of like a writing exercise of being in the chat and communicating, getting in these little quips and jokes along with the show.
Yeah, it's especially good whenever you get like acknowledgement from the host and stuff like that. It's a little bit parasocial, but it's less and less parasocial every time these people refer to you specifically by name and then thank you for things. So
Yeah, it is
it's a
some
weird
endorphins.
community we're in, but I love it. That's why I'm
It,
here.
yeah, it is endorphins to the brain of like, he brought my comment up. I didn't even super chat him. And he was like, this is good enough to be on the show. Do you
Well,
remember your first super chat?
my first super chat was probably the WATP, but I can't remember what it was. So no, I don't think so. Do you know if YouTube keeps a track of that?
I don't think so.
I know there's like a extension to keep track of your like comment history to know like what videos you comment on and stuff like that. So somebody can go back and see all of the people you comment on.
And I would like to put some of the other beloved chatters' names in there, because there's a few that are just on fire in the chat room, where it's like, I don't know if you can correlate this into sketch or stand up comedy, but you are a funny ass person in the chat room. But some people don't like going to the performing themselves. They're more comfortable there in the chat room and realize this is where I'm really honing my silliness.
One of my favorite chatters out there that is just very subtle, very consistent, and seems very insightful is Principled Uncertainty.
Yes.
Seems like they're everywhere on everything, and they're giving everybody support pretty quietly for the most part until they speak up and then give you advice that is generally well placed.
Yeah, it's a fun little community. And DabbleCon is what brought me into this, seeing the established relationships from complete strangers. That's like, oh, I need to be part of this. So
Speaking of
very fun.
DabbleCon, I really hope to make it to the next WATP live show. Apparently, it's coming up in March. They're working on a date for it, but I believe I'm going to do my best to make it there.
Yeah, Tampa has been thrown around. I would love to check out a WATP in Tampa. Have I heard about something in Vegas with either Melton or the Dick Show? Both of those, I am very interested in going to either Tampa or Vegas for a big meeting of the beloved chatters.
I would have to figure out how to get there, but I would love to go there too because I've never been to Vegas.
Vegas, I damn near moved to Vegas. Yeah, big fan of Vegas. Have to take you to the Pinball Museum. I don't know if you're a pinball person, but I am the type of autist that loves him some pinball.
Pinball's really cool. I used to love Kirby Pinball for the like just regular old Game Boy. Really good game.
The Sopranos pinball is my all-time favorite pinball. That's how I learned, because as a kid for a while, it was just I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. But the Sopranos pinball, you are trying to advance rank, and there are two ways to do that, and everything else is a mini game. So then being able to apply that to all the other machines that are out there. And yeah, now my favorite place to go is the pinball bar in whatever city I'm in. And in Vegas, it's not a bar, it's a pinball museum. And
That's
the
so
owner was extremely conservative. If you would get a warning about dropping fuck bombs, and if you kept doing it, you were ejected. If you came in smelling like marijuana, which you can legally buy there now, get out. Absolutely not. We don't want your
well, I mean,
kind in here.
that is a matter of hygiene, technically. I mean, if they don't like how you smell, they have the right to be like, "Hey, you stink. You need to go home and take a shower."
That that is right. But it was just kind of like a ritual to smoke up in the car right before we go in.
Right.
So it is going to linger.
That's why you just gotta do some edibles.
It's but careful not doing too many. That gets into like a mini acid trip if you overdose on edibles, which I'm not opposed to, but some people definitely are.
The first time I ever actually was feeling any sort of high off the edibles, I ended up falling asleep while sitting in the chair. So I think it went pretty well.
A successful trip. A good little Tylenol PM for you, that edible.
Yeah, and it was just like in the middle of the day too. There's people all around. It's not like it was in a quiet like corner or anything. I'm sitting there and I'm suddenly like, oh shit. How long was I sitting there? I don't know. I'm high too, man. So all right, fair enough.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Annie. Thanks for bringing me on as co-host and having fun with a new game every 2 weeks. And people can check next Wednesday out, El Horrible on What Is This Game with Annie, where it's just kind of an overview of retro games, not focusing in on one specific one. At 7 p.m. Eastern is the time this coming week, correct?
I don't know specifically, but that's what it sounded like. 7, maybe 8 p.m. Eastern time.
It'll be a night show.
Mhm,
El Horrible is an adult with a job,
mhm.
unlike me, who's a child playing on the internet for damn near a year straight now. God, I love being frugal. If I was absolutely shit with my money, I wouldn't be having this much fun on the internet and doing nothing else.
Well, I thank you for having me on. It's been very, very enjoyable. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. And thank all you viewers for joining. And now feel free to go away.
Well, it looks like that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for going on this adventure with me. It's fun being with friends. I'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye bye. Bye bye now. Bye bye. Bye bye now. Bye bye.
Places all. All join hands, circle left. Now circle right and listen to me. LS, MFT. Elementary corners like swinging on a gate. To right to you, honey, with the right left 8. Grand right and left around you go. Lucky strike means fine tobacco. Meet your honey and give her a whirl. All swing around with the little girls. Smoke 'em, then you'll see. LS, MFT. Promenade and don't you fall. Promenade around the hall. Lucky strike is first again with tobacco men. Promenade straight down the pike. It's time right now for a lucky strike. Yes, for smoking that you're bound to like, you just can't beat a lucky strike.